I'm so excited for this. So
yes. Okay, we're live now.
oh, good.
All right,
Hi,
welcome everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Let me just double check everything is okay. Okay, we're live. We have 17 people watching.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, hi everyone.
everybody.
I'm here with Karina Halle, who is the author of the book that we're going to be talking about today, Black Sunshine. We might get into some spoilers, but we'll just let everyone know when we're about to talk about spoilers. But hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me and for joining in. And as I was warning them before, I do have a tendency to ramble, so I apologize ahead of time. I think everybody, like at this point of the pandemic, is probably used to rambling now because they're just not been talking to too many people. So if I do that, I apologize.
Well, we can introduce ourselves. Well, I'm Lacey. Lacey Booklovers. This is my channel. And yeah, that's about it. Charles, you can go next.
Hello, everyone. I'm Charles, and I'm from the channel Books on Stereo, and I listen to primarily audiobooks, but I slip in a couple books without audiobooks every now and then.
All right, hi guys, my name's Desiree. My channel is Genki Reader. I also have an Instagram where I'm a little bit more active. Same name, no space. I listen primarily to romance, just like a bunch of these other people on here.
Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm on the channel Book for Romance. I know you guys haven't seen me in a while because I've been under a rock of like boxes or like stacked on top of me because I'm trying to move. So Lacey's been kind enough to let me hop on here, and I'm excited to be here.
I'm Jessica from Peace Love Books. I read romance. That's it.
I'm Karina Halle, and I write romance. That's it.
All right. Well, we can start off with some questions. I did get a couple from Instagram when I asked. And I'm sure a lot of people are wondering this as well, but what was the inspiration behind Black Sunshine? Like, why did you decide to write it?
That's a good question. Last year, at some point, I think it was maybe right before, okay, disclaimer, I've never read Twilight. So like when I heard that Midnight Sun was coming out, I knew that was a big deal and everything. I knew all the, behind it. I obviously know a lot about Twilight. I just never read it. And so I think it was around that time, maybe before, maybe just after, but I remember being like, now might be a good time to finally do vampires because they kind of went away for a long time.
Right.
And although they never really went away, I mean, that subgenre is really strong, but people were saying it could kind of come back. And there's a few YAs that have been taking off that have been dealing with that. So I kind of thought, all right, well, maybe I should do, test myself and challenge myself and do something new. So originally I actually pitched it to my agent because I was going to maybe go YA with it. And which now you're like, how would you have done that? I'm so glad. She was like, I don't know, like, because I had the idea that, that this girl was raised by vampire slayers who were not her parents and that they killed her parents. I just thought that I had that idea come to me and I thought that's really cool. I really want to do that. Right. So I wrote it down in a notebook and I just said, okay, well, hopefully when I get the time at some point I can do this and maybe I'll do YA, maybe I'll do adults. And so I asked my agent and she said, well, it's still not really a sure thing yet. I mean, that's what she says about everything. And she's right about it because you just don't know what trends are going to come up because publishing is so slow. I mean, traditional publishing. So with that in mind, I was like, okay, well, I'll see when the opportunity comes up, what I'm going to do. And then once she was like, okay, well, I don't know about the YA, I was like, okay, well, I'll just age it up and do an adult version. And then I think I was talking to my friend Stephanie and she was like, they have to be super sexy. I'm like, well, obviously they are if it's going to be like, you can't miss that opportunity. I mean, vampires are so sexy just like naturally, like it's a very sexy genre. So it's, now when I'm looking back, I'm like, how do they make this YA? Like there's so much blood generally. It should. Yeah. There's a very sexy, sensual act of exchanging blood or taking blood. It's very like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's something like Anne Rice knew what she was doing, taking that into that kind of level. So, so yeah, I just basically decided, okay, well, I'm just going to do it when I found the time. And I think just earlier this year, I was always planning around March and April of 2021 to go for it. And then finally, like, you know, I just, after I finished my last book, I was like, you know, I'm going to do it right now. I'm feeling it. And everything just kind of came to me like the rest of the story. So yeah, I was super excited. Well, here comes my dog. I might have to get up to let him in the office. But yeah, so that's how that happened.
Mm-hmm. So you never read Twilight, but is there any other vampire story books that was an inspiration for you while you were writing?
Yeah, not when I was writing, but well, actually, no, that's not true. I did read A Discovery of Witches. So the funny thing is I read that last year and I didn't read the last quarter. And I don't know why I just stopped. I just did. And then as I was writing this, like near the end of this book, I picked up and Discovery of Witches and started over again. Cause I was like, okay, now I want to watch, first of all, I want to make sure I'm not copying anything. And the second of all, I want to make sure that I want to watch the show. And, but then there was like, there were some similarities I didn't pick up on the first time around. Then I was like, okay, you know what? Mine's totally different. It's fine. But like, I really love those books. So I'm excited to read the second one and see what happens there. So I would say that is definitely something that I've read recently that would be vampire-ish. When I was really young, or not really young, but when I was like a teenager, there's this, I mean, I don't know if you guys can help me with this. No one can. There was this book, and I think I was like 14, 15, and it was one of those like really thin paperbacks, and it was not connected to a series. I have no idea who wrote it. I kind of can see the cover. I swear it's like blue with a house, but I might be totally wrong. And there's a super creepy vampire who lived down the street from this girl. So it was like a YA novel from like the mid-90s. And he was kind of stalking her, and she'd go to his house. He lived in this old house down the street. It wasn't like a sexy vampire. She wasn't falling in love with him or anything. It was very scary. I just remember there's a scene while she was in the hospital. I'm not sure if he put her in the hospital or not, but she was there, and you think she's going to be safe in the hospital, and the vampire floated up or flew up or did whatever to her hospital room window and then came inside. And I remember that terrified me because like there's no escaping these vampires. And I kind of wanted to bring that back again, like that kind of fear of vampires, because like,
right.
I know they don't always sparkle. They are pretty scary and sketchy. Right? So
yeah.
I wanted to put like grittiness in it because I still don't know what book that was, but and I've been trying to look for it for years. But yeah, so that kind of inspired me like a long time ago. So that's why I wanted to kind of put more of a suspenseful film noirish edge to the book.
This book sounds familiar. I don't know if I've actually read what you're talking. Let me look at my Goodreads just to see, but keep going.
Yeah, I
feel like
I literally was on
maybe we'll
Amazon.
solve the mystery.
I'm like looking at
cool.
all the reviews of like everything that could be, and people are like, well, what if it's this book by I forget who, but it all seemed to be connected to a series, and I still, you know, I'd have to actually go and read it again. But anyways, it left an impression on me, so that's why I kind of wanted to bring it back to the scariness of it all. Plus
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, like from what I read of this story, it really gave me like Van Helsing vibes, like the very like, I mean, almost like the darker side of vampires. And I mean, I know it didn't have werewolves in it, but I definitely got that from this.
Yeah, I mean, I actually also, believe it or not, I never had seen Bram Stoker's, not Bram, well, it is Bram Stoker's, but Coppola's Dracula came out when I was pretty young. I was in high school, but I was still pretty young. And I was kind of that time where I wouldn't have been able to see it on my own. So like, I just kind of missed it. And I never actually ended up seeing the movie. I mean, I've seen so many scenes from it. Right. So we actually started to watch that version of Dracula just when I started writing the book. And yeah, it was definitely creepy. I mean, that actually, it blew me away because it was kind of campy. I mean, like obviously Keanu Reeves is in it, so you're gonna with his horrible accent, so like you're gonna get that kind of campiness. But like I really enjoyed it. They were just kind of just like, let's embrace the darkness and like the horror, but also like the cheesiness of it too.
Right.
Did a great job. Yeah. So that was kind of inspiring too. And then of course I was reading the book Dracula at the same time as well. So definitely a lot of vampire stuff going on in my house.
Well, someone said, is it The Cheerleader by Caroline Cooney?
And I remember finding it on Amazon and being like, okay, is this it? but that was supposed to be part of a series, and that's why it kind of threw me off. 'Cause I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is not supposed to be part of a series. But like, how would I know? I mean, I was only like 14 at the time. I wasn't paying attention. It seemed like a standalone. It might have been. But yeah, it could have been, because I remember seeing that online. I guess I just have to order it from Amazon and see if it jogs my memory or something. Right. Either way, I like
The Silver Kiss by Annette Curtis Klaus, because it's the one I read, and it sounds familiar. It's really old. It's from like
it could be. It could be. And who knows how many times the covers have changed, right?
Like got a few different covers.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's possible that's it. I'm gonna have to look that up too. So the Silver Kiss. Okay. Yeah, because like literally it's been like 10 years of me remembering this book and then trying to figure out what it was. And half the time, your memories can't really be reliable. So we don't know for sure. I'm just gonna pause this for a second to let in my dog into the office because it's raining outside and he's crying.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's okay.
Little puppy.
All right.
When did you guys finish the book?
Oh, sorry, I'm back. He left. He's back though, I'm sure. I'm back. That read first novel. Yay, thank you so much, Novel Life. I hope you enjoy it. It's it's funny about people who start the book. It's just, I guess you don't really know what to expect. I mean, the blurb is pretty specific, so I guess you would know what to expect. But like, when I was writing it, I had a very clear vision of exactly what I needed to happen every single chapter and what was going to get me there. But there was so many different fun things to play with. There was one scene that scared me almost more than anything else, and that was I know I'm going on my own tangent here, but the Uber driver scene. The Uber driver,
right,
Ezra. But that, to me, to be in her shoes, because I can't tell you how many times I've been in an Uber where I've freaked out because I'm thinking something like that something's wrong. Right. And I can't tell you how many horror stories I've seen on like Twitter about something actually going that wrong. And that's why I was like, this is the most terrifying thing, because this is actual, vampires. We can rest assured that they're not out there. I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Someone tested theory.
Yeah, but the Uber thing, that's real. So I was just like, writing that was really hard, because I felt like I was in the Uber too, and I was like, even though I knew what was going to happen, I still felt bad for her.
Right.
Yeah.
I really love the opening. Oh, sorry, Lacey.
No, you can.
I was gonna say I really love the opening. Like, it read like when you said like a film noir type thriller. Like, I felt like the claustrophobia, like the characters, like, is someone out there? And then I love the whole Uber scene. I was like, oh, like, I was blown away by page 1. I was like, I must keep reading this because
thank you.
It's like draw you in so easily, and you're like, I can see like myself in this character's head. Like, there's something wrong. Even when she's in the Uber scene, she doesn't fall into like the kind of like the too stupid to live category where like she's making like obviously bad choices. Yeah. But like the reader knows that, but she's not registering it. Like, I'm like, she gets an Uber car, like, and then she gets duped, but like it works. It's not like she like sees a shady car over there. She's like, I'm gonna go in that car. Yeah. It's like,
no, she was waiting for long enough, and she just assumed it was. And there's many times that we're on the check, so it happens.
You know what though? Let's be real. How many people have accidentally stepped in someone else's car and then been like, "Oh, this isn't that Uber."
Like, exactly. And usually you rely on the driver to be like, "Are you so and so?" And if they and he didn't use her name, so why would she assume otherwise?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I don't read horror stuff. I can't handle scary stuff. But I have read one of your other horror romances. It was,
Dark House.
Dead.
Yeah, probably Dark House.
Dark House.
No, that one too. I did read that one, but the other one with the cannibals.
Camels?
Oh,
Cannibals.
Oh, the cannibals. Oh, Dawners of the Dead.
Yes. That one. That one creeped me out so bad. I had to stop reading it because I was reading it at night. I just couldn't.
It's definitely a creepy book. I mean, it helps a little bit if you're like, well, thank God it's not 1880s, and I'm not in the middle of a mountain in a snowstorm, which is like, which is good, but no, that was definitely creepy. For a minute, I thought you said camels, and I was like, oh, Lord. I'm forgetting what I've written. Oh, someone's saying their grandma got into the wrong car when she went into the bank. You know, it's really, this is random. The other day I was on Twitter and people were talking about like weird things that happen. And someone was saying like they worked at a restaurant and they gave the cook their key to go move their car during a shift. And the cook came back and was like, oh, I moved all your stuff for you. And she's like, what stuff? And the key worked in someone else's car. It was like the first time I've ever heard of that. And I was like,
wow,
what happened? And I was like, was it the same make? And she
like
was
a physical key?
Yeah, she was like, move my red Ford Focus, and he was like, okay, and he went and moved a red, I don't know, Ford.
Wow,
that's awkward.
No, I can steal it though.
Yeah, because I've heard of like the remote keys. They'll do like cars that are like the similar make and the same model or whatever. That's happened to us all the time, where like you might have like another Toyota or whatever, and then it'll also beep, and you're like, oh no, I think I just unlocked someone else's car. I don't know why that's a function. It should have a specific code.
And you try and lock it again because you're like, I'm really sorry, I don't want you broken.
Right?
Yeah.
You're like slipping in there really fast to hit the lock button real quick.
Yeah.
Hopefully no one notices.
Right.
Exactly.
And hopefully you don't move all their stuff in their car.
Yeah, that's that person obviously got back to the car and was like, what just happened? But yes, that was just a random thing from last night. It has nothing to do with anything again. So I told you.
No, that's fine.
More horror romance books. Well, Karina has a bunch. She has Experiment in Terror and Dawners of the Dead.
Yeah, I've got Experiment in Terror, so that's 10 books, almost 11. I've got my spin-off of that, which is like, that's more urban fantasy, paranormal romance than horror. But I do think the third book is going to get a bit like, it's different kind of horror. So like, I think the third book's going to get a bit Lovecraftian, with like monsters. So that's fun. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so there's that. I do have a duet called The Devil's Medal, but it's not available right now because I just got the rights back from the publisher. And so what I'm going to do with that is just recover it and everything. But they took it down right away when I was like, hi, can I have my rights back? Because it's been amount of time. And they're like, sure. And then they're like, okay, we took it down. I'm like, oh, I was actually just hopefully in the future I could get it back. Not right this minute. So, but that's set in the 70s. So that's basically Almost Famous meets The Devil's Advocate. So that's about a 24-year-old music journalist, which is something that I used to do, but obviously not in the 70s. And she's, trying to be taken seriously. And she gets the dream job to go on tour with her favorite band to write them up for Cream magazine. And so obviously very similar to Almost Famous. But then when she's on tour with the band and with this lead singer, she loves anyways, they do have a romance after a while. But she discovers that the singer made a deal with the devil for success. And he'll come back to pay, come back to get the debt that he's owed by the time the guy is 20. Was it 27 or 28? It was anyways, whatever that number is that people die at. So like, it was a little bit... yeah, it's horror. It's scary, but it's also in the 70s. So like, it's historical, I guess, as at the same time. But that was a lot of fun. So that's a duet that is out there. I mean, it's not, but it will be again.
Someone loved the Uber scene.
Oh, good.
Sorry to laugh.
I'm not gonna lie, I really like how you set up the story too, with how they right away kill off her parents, her supposed parents.
Yeah.
And that was amazing because it's like you already are setting up like suspense there, like, and then they take her. It's like, wow, what just happened? Like that was how you set that up, and like what Charles said at the beginning was just money. You had me at hello type thing.
Thank you. I'm known for my prologues sometimes, not always. I don't always write them, but when I do, I tend to like go all in and like make it something really memorable. It's funny, I never really realized that prologues get like a bad rap. I think maybe more against like literary people or in traditional circles, but like I love them. I love being able to set up something, especially doing it in third person, so you can actually explain something because if I didn't do that, it wouldn't have the impact. You know, you would be like in Lenore's shoes, you know, not knowing anything. But I think it's better in this case to know that she doesn't know. You know what I mean? I think that still gives this suspense that, like, when is she going to find out? So every time you see her interacting with her parents, you're like, but they're not her real parents, you know?
Right. Yeah. Are they going to
And we know that.
We know that going in.
Yeah. So you're kind of waiting for that moment for her to find out, because obviously that's going to be a trip. You know, like not only is it not her,
just the whole sequence, like
killed her parents, like, that's crazy. Yeah.
I was totally waiting for her parents to like kill her. Like they're like,
I was kind of worried.
Me too.
41, you're dead now, and I was like, seriously, like, girl, watch your back. Watch your back.
I have to say, like, for, you know, when their plan was to take her out to Joshua Tree to have that be there while she was changing, and there's a part of me that's still like, would they have killed her if things like went gnarly? You know, like maybe. I couldn't say they wouldn't. I mean, to save themselves, to save one of, like, what if she had turned into, you know, totally gone mad like she does anyway? And what if she tries to kill, say, the father? Would the mother have killed her to save the father? Like, I don't really know, because that would have been a really hard choice to make, because in the end, she's still not really theirs, even though they love her like a daughter. But at the same time, I don't know. It's complicated. That's a very complicated parent-child relationship.
Yeah. Right. Like, you killed your parents, but we're going to still be your parents.
Yeah, exactly. But I like that they were there. A lot of times in books, you don't see a lot of parent and child relationships. They're kind of just pushed to the side. So I do like it. And for me, like, I'm notoriously bad at, like, killing parents off. So, like, people are always like, I think my editor, when she was reading it, she's like, don't you dare touch them this time. And I'm like, I'm not going to kill them. Don't worry. I don't know what happens in the future, but like,
I mean, you did
definitely die.
You killed one set of parents.
Oh boy.
I feel like you don't have any qualms about killing off characters. Like
no, they're
gone. Like
I mean, I'm not as bad as like George R. R. Martin, but like
right. No, that's fine. I was just like,
no, I mean, like, no, I tend to do that sometimes, but like I try not to, because, you know, it hurts me too to kill certain characters, but sometimes I don't care.
Right. There was one I was happy that they're dead.
There was a character like that was human. I was like, when I got to the scene, I was like, Karina, you did it. I was like,
yes.
Sorry. I was like,
I realize now that I actually did that in this book to other people.
Yes.
I didn't kill the parents. I don't see what the big deal is. I'm like, oh yeah, the other people. Yes.
Yeah, there's more than one.
Yes, and that was hard on me. That was I saw them both from happening from a distance, and it was hard on me to write, but I was also really excited to write it. Guess so. Sadistic, obviously. Book D 401 asks, which book was your favorite to write? And that is actually really hard to say because I've written so many, but the ones that are memorable, I would say the first, Sins and Needles was probably the first one that I remember. I wrote that in like 10 days. Like, that book, it came out of me. And I remember very clearly, my husband remembers it clearly. Like, we both had this feeling about this book, that this was a book that was going to change things for us. And it did. It was my first book that got picked up by a publisher. So like I owe a lot of success to that book. And, but I very clearly remember writing it. And it's funny because it was when we first moved to this island, and we were renting a house, a very dark, depressing place. And the other day we drove past it, and he was like, I always would go for a walk and I'd see you in the upstairs window of this small little dark cottage, and you would be writing this book. And I always thought to myself, like, one day if this book gets famous, people will drive past and be like, that's where she wrote Sins and Needles. So like, it was interesting. That really stuck out in both our minds. I actually have to say, after that, Black Sunshine was probably one of the most fun I've had writing a book ever. Like, I didn't want to stop. And that's, you know, and I wanted it as long as possible so I could just keep going. So like that, and the book just before that, Song for the Dead, that was another one that was just like a week. I did that in like a week, and it was just like a week of coffee and like wine and just music, and it was so much fun to do. So like I've really lucky this year. I had 2 back-to-back books that were like one of the best experiences I've had. And of course, like, there's other books that were great to write too, but right now, those are the top 3 that I can remember.
Right. I was going to say, like, The Nordic King, I actually binged you as soon as I had read this. I read like 3 other of your books.
Oh, thank you.
And I really enjoyed that one. I mean, Jess and then Lacey and Chrissy had all mentioned this one, but I was just like, that one was really enjoyable to read. So I was, you know.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that one was like, I don't really remember writing it, but that was an odd time. But that book, once I did start writing it, was I loved it. Because I had planned that book far ahead of time, because when I wrote The Swedish Prince, I knew Axel's story and what it was going to be, and I knew I was going to save it. So like I was super excited to finally get to that and finally explore it. It was definitely, that was a good experience. For some reason, I can't remember it, but.
I like how you wrote them as all standalones too. So like I read that one first, and I haven't read any of the other ones yet, but it's like nice. You could like pick certain ones.
Yeah, it's not like, I mean, like the only spoiler is like, oh, you know, they end up, these 2 are a couple, but I mean, that it's a romance. You know that anyway, that they're going to end up together. So it doesn't ruin it, right? So.
Right.
Well, Katie asked, how do you get in the frame of mind to write horror?
That's just my frame of mind. I don't get into any specific frame of mind to write horror. I mean, it depends on the book. I mean, I do have horror coming up. Obviously, this next book that I'm starting, or should have started days ago, but things have been chaotic in my life. So that's horror-ish. Like that's like that PNR urban fantasy series. But like I said, I'm doing like a Lovecraft thing. So like that will be a little bit horror. And then after that, I have another horror. I don't really have to get into a frame of mind. I mean, it helped. Like you'd think that I would watch scary movies or something to get myself in the mood. But scary movies scare me. I can't handle jump cuts. That's my problem. Like I can read a scary book, no problem. It's great. But like a scary movie, like I can't handle like the
loud noise.
I can't stand it.
Like, even with trailers, movie trailers, I can't do it.
Just, like,
I will throw my phone.
I
can't do it. Yeah.
I don't know if it's an age thing, but I was able to do it when I was younger. But now that I'm older, I'm just like, I don't want to stress out. Like I don't want to.
Same.
It's super stressful. So people are always like, "Oh, you must watch a lot of scary movies." I'm like, "No, they're so scary." Like, there's so many I have lined up that I want to see. Like I want to see. What is the one that had? Everyone says it's frightening. It's the guy who did. I did see Midsommar, so that's also scared the crap out of me. And that was unsettling with me for days. The guy who did Midsommar, he did another one. Is it Inheritance? Is that the name of it?
Oh, Hereditary.
Hereditary. That's it.
Hereditary. That's one.
Everyone says it's so scary. I had to actually go and look at all the spoilers for what was scary to see if I could handle it. And so like, now I know where things happen in it, so maybe then I can prepare myself. But like, just even seeing the trailer for that disturbed me. So I'm like, I don't know if I can do it.
I didn't even know Midsommar was a horror. The poster is very deceiving. Okay. Thank goodness I didn't watch it.
Walk in there, watch and be like, "What did I sign up?"
Like, what is this?
Yeah, I remember actually seeing Scream in the first one in the theaters when I was. Obviously I'm aging myself, but young. I was a teenager and I went with my mom, and I, for some reason, thought I knew Drew Barrymore was in it. I didn't know who Rose McGowan was at the time, and they do kind of look the same. So like I thought Rose McGowan was also Drew Barrymore, like before I got into the theater. So when I saw her get killed off in the first 10 minutes, I was just like, what the? I remember going to the bathroom and like during the movie and like checking under the stalls and being like, okay. That was shocking. So yeah, I just remember that very well and being like, maybe I don't handle horror very well. Or it's not even horror, but like it's scary. So
Night Wolf. Is that the Wolf's book?
Yes. So obviously when I go into a book, see, Black Sunshine, I knew I was promoting it as a standalone because I said this is going to be a standalone, and I went into it being like it's going to be a standalone. So I was writing and I was like, this it's not going to stand alone. It's like I'm going to do what I can to like wrap it up, but I really do want to continue writing it because, like I said, I was having so much fun with the characters, and I knew there's so much left to be told. Like after like all this, world building, and I was just, how do I can't do it. But I didn't want to be like, surprise, it's not. But so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it as much as a standalone as I can for people who don't like a series, because I get it. I do have a bad reputation for doing a long series. So I was like, I bet people are going to be like, oh, she's going to do 10 books again or something. And like, I didn't want to scare people off. And also vampire books in general and PNR do tend to go on for like a really long time. Right. So it's like, I want to be able to do this in like a short amount of time. So I was like, okay, maybe if I just do like a short series. So then it kind of came to me. I was like, no, it could be a duet of Black Sunshine. So that's why there's going to be another book called The Blood is Love that's going to just expand and continue where I left off in Black Sunshine. Now, of course, Black Sunshine can be, still read as a standalone, or if you want, and if you don't want to continue, that's fine. But yeah, I'm really excited because The Blood is Love gets to explore all the things I did not get a chance to explore. And because there's so much. And then I'm going to spin off of that with a book that I will also try. It'll be a standalone in the sense of you don't have to read Black Sunshine or The Blood is Love to understand it. So that's what Wolf is. So Night Wolf is Wolf's book, who's another vampire in the book, and Amethyst. So it's like kind of your typical like friends to lovers. I was like, oh, this is a friends to lovers romance. This is going to be so cute. But I was like, oh, vampires. That's interesting. So it's a friends to lovers vampires romance. But I'm excited. I'm excited.
I was messaging everyone and I was like, this can't be a standalone. Like I finished as like, this can't be, there has to be more.
Yeah.
I was like, and then Lacey told me, I was like, yes. I was like, this, it can.
Yeah.
Like,
I was getting
it could, but I was like, yeah, there's more story here.
Get out of this. I don't wait for this. Like I am in such a pickle, but yeah, so I think that's what because people are like, there's so much like left unsaid. I'm like, I know. I know myself. I want to see what happens. I mean, we won't spoil what the beast is, but I can't wait to see what happens when that becomes maybe more prominent. I don't know.
Yeah. That shocked me when that happened in the book.
Yeah, that took me for a loop. I was like, oh, okay.
he was not being metaphorical.
Yeah, no.
I mean, we all have a beast inside us, right? So,
and it happened like during that scene too.
Yeah.
That scene, I was like,
there's a lot of stuff happening.
She actually went there
in that chapter as well, because I was like, when I was sending it to my editor, because the reason that this kind of works for me is that I write really fast, but my editor edits as I go. So like, I don't do a lot of content edits because unless maybe a beta points something out to me, but I don't do that because I plot everything very meticulously before I write it. So I know exactly what happens in each scene and how everything fits. So I just send her chunks and then she edits and sends it back. So like, that's how she doesn't wait to the end. Like we do it as we go. And I remember sending her that chapter. And I was just like, so have you? But I was also waiting for the scene, the one that's like from Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, with the heart. And
oh yeah.
And it happens basically in the same chapter almost, or it is the same chapter. And I was just like, well, there's a lot happening.
Right.
I think even people forget that happens because then they get to this beast thing and they're like, oh boy, you kind of forget that like, no, that was a really awesome murder scene earlier. But yeah.
It just reminded me of Vampire Diaries though, because they do a lot of heart ripping.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that other, but yeah. No, so it's just like, how would this be? What would they do? And I was just like, yeah, that would be good. Just bring out the heart, set it on fire, put it back in.
They don't set anything on fire in Vampire Diaries. They just like rip them out. So.
No,
yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. They've got strong grip, and
right.
Yeah, they have enough force.
What's the scene in any of your books that you wish you had done differently? None. I don't have any regrets. Like I said, I plot every single chapter that I have done ahead of time, so I know exactly what happens. That doesn't mean that like I stick to that per se. I mean, there's a lot of books where like most books I'm just like, nah, you know, I could see this chapter's coming up. That's not going to make any sense anymore. So I have to change that. So like I do it like that, or I'll write something and be like, this isn't working. Then I'll go back and I'll fix it. But no, when I read through the book before I send it, I have to be proud of every single, you know, scene that I've written and chapter that I've written and every word. So like, no regrets ever. Like everything I put out there is 100% the way it's meant to be. So, so that's good because and also if you regret things that you wrote, like you would go crazy. I mean, there's been books that for me have been really hard to write and awful experiences, but they don't necessarily reflect on the book. It just depends where I am at the time. But even then, I don't think I've ever regretted writing anything particularly. No.
Do you read your books over? Because I know with a lot of authors, they say that like they'll finish it and put it away on the shelf and never look at it again. Because if they read it, they'll want to change things.
Yeah, I do. Like not like no, maybe I do some for fun. Like for example, I'm writing the script like I'm also a screenwriter, so I'm also turning Sins and Needles into a television show, and that's going to go out in submission really soon. So my manager right now is just reading over. I've done 2 episodes, and we're just reading it over. And so I've had to go through these books like a million times. Well, I've had to go through this book a million times because I'm adapting the scripts. But I started reading like the rest of them, and I think I read them this whole trilogy in the last 2 weeks. I think I've read it 3 times. So like there's not a single word I would change in these books. They surprise me at how good they are. To be honest. Wow, I don't know what. Like I don't
love to see it.
And because it's been so long, it's been like since 2013 when I wrote them. It's been so long that you forget. And so it's always a nice surprise to kind of see like, oh yeah. So like I haven't read, like I did have to read Black Sunshine through, of course, when I proofed it. But I haven't read it, you know, again. It's good to wait. I think there's some books I have no interest in reading again per se. But you know, it just depends on your mood too. But no, I mean, I don't really make a habit of it. But I will have to read Black Sunshine again before I do The Blood is Love, just to get acquainted. And I look forward to it because I really, really enjoyed it. And like I write for me, first of all, and I write the books that I wish exist. So like I write so I can read it basically. So I get that some authors don't want to read it, but I basically wrote the book so I could read it. So Black Sunshine for me, when I was writing it, I was just like, this is going to be a lot of fun to go back and read. So I'm looking forward to it.
Do you plot out? Sorry, Lacey.
You can go.
Do you plot out beforehand? You don't have to reread it at that point, knowing that it just kind of flows?
Yeah. So like, it's because of my screenwriting training and also journalism, you know, you really have to think things through. So I'm not one of those people that pants it. I couldn't work that way. My brain needs structure. So I do plot out. Some books are more specific than others. So some books will get a kind of a skeleton outline of what happens. And then, and a lot of romances like aren't heavily plotted necessarily. So like maybe I have an idea what happens each chapter, but maybe it's just a line written and then I just kind of figure it out. But like for Black Sunshine, it was literally like, I'm trying to see if I have a notebook here because I write in notebooks. It was literally like every single line was, and it was just filled with like quotes and stuff.
Right. It was like a story arc, like you were having things going on behind the scene for certain things. So it's like, like bringing in villains and stuff that takes a little bit more than just the average romance.
Oh yeah, no,
especially the world building.
Right.
Yeah, the plotting was like pretty complex. So like I got this notebook and this is not the right notebook. This is where The Blood is Love.
We just opened it. We see spoilers.
Oh my god, it's a mess. But anyway, so like I will go through and I mean, what's in here? God. Anyway, I don't know. I will go through and I'll fill the whole notebook, and in that one, like now I'm really determined to find it. Okay, I got it. Oh, good. Okay. So I'll get the notebook. And so this was for the blood. I mean, freaking hell, Black Sunshine. So here I am. I was trying to go through what titles. This is going to be, I've got started writing quotes. So, you know, like I started with Lenore's character bio, and then 3 Ways to Kill a Vampire. So this is just like a bit of world building. Atlas Poe and what he belongs to, and like Dark Eyes, the club. And then I get into this. So this is chapters. That's chapter 4. It says Panic in the Uber. Lenore tries to outsmart him.
So you wrote like pretty much 2 books. There's that book, and then you wrote the real book.
Yeah, and that's how I get away with writing so fast.
That's
and then,
pretty
like,
good.
you know, and then I have quotes like on the side. So when dialogue comes to me, I do that. And so this is chapter 10, and this is chapter 16, and you know, so the whole book is just filled with that. So that's how I like to write, and that's how I can do it so fast because I know that when I get to the end, and it's helpful. Like even like with you know, with traditional publishers too. They'll sometimes, I think the most they've ever asked for is added scenes. So it's never like, I never have to take anything out. It's more like I have to maybe add a scene just to add, you know, whatever. So like, so that's helpful too.
Yeah.
How long does the plotting take you?
Oh, well, like it depends because I kind of do it as I go. So like, for example, like I have to start Ada's 3rd book in the Ada Palomino series like tomorrow probably, and I want to maybe also start plotting tomorrow too. So like I'll get, you know, I have to know where I'm going. I'll plot maybe up to the first 5 chapters so I know where I'm going, and then after that I'll just kind of go, and then I'll see. So I don't do it all at once because I don't know exactly how the character is going to behave and stuff. So that's why I mean, like things change. Like for example, when I wrote this book, Bold Tricks, Ellie and Camden, they were supposed to get back together like halfway through the book, and I had the scene all planned, and I think it was the jungle scene, which is still in the book. But there was a scene when they're in the gas station bathroom when she's taking care of him, and that ended up with sex. I didn't plan that. That just happened.
It just felt right.
It felt right in the moment.
Yeah, it felt right. So I was like, I'm just going with it because like these guys obviously like, I was like, no, you're getting it on right now because that's obviously what you guys want.
Right.
Yeah.
When you
It's like
brought
actors
up
at improv.
When you brought up Sins and Needles, I was thinking that Solemn reminded me a lot of Javier.
Which song?
Solemn, the hero.
Oh, yeah. No, I got that impression too. And what's really weird is, because lately I've been, as I said, been reading the Artist Trilogy, and I've been reading On Every Street a couple of times. Also, because in the script I'm working in flashbacks from that book into the pilot and the other one. So in that one, it was kind of like she said something like Javier has vampire tendencies because he constantly is like biting her and making her bleed and sucking her blood and stuff. I was like, okay, well, there you go. He's like really a vampire. I don't know, but when I was writing, I'm like, this guy really reminds me of Javier. If Javier had a little more moral standing and was a vampire. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Javier is worse. I mean, because you know, Solon is bad, but he's not that bad. He has remorse.
But he thinks he's worse than he is.
Yeah, and he, you know, because of the room of skulls, like that is something that kind of is like, okay, so you're looking for humanity, which is Javier is not interested in that. Well, maybe he will be, but at this point, no. This person loves Lambert English and The Forbidden Man. Thank you very much. I love them too. That was a fun. I mean, okay, so another book I loved writing was Love in English. I remember that very well too, because it was based on real life experiences I had. So that was a lot of fun to go back and like kind of match things up that way, and just kind of relive a part of my life of my early 20s. And so, yeah, that was a really, really good experience. What else? What was
one of your favorite scenes to write?
in life? Like
yeah, I'm like holding back. I'm like
in the book.
I'm like,
In Black
Sunshine? I mean, I'll talk about
Sunshine.
Black Sunshine because that was the last one. But in that book, I would have to say Definitely, I don't know, anytime like I like the Uber scene, as I said, but anytime that Lenore and Solon were together, I really loved writing that. I'm sick. I loved the bathtub scene. I don't know why, but I did. I loved the heart-ripping heart scene. I loved the beast scene. There was just so many scenes in that book that were so much fun to write that I couldn't wait to write them. So like even other murder scenes I enjoyed.
Right. The end.
Yeah. I love your books, Karina. They're so engaging. Experiment Terror got me through my pregnancy, my last one. Thank you so much. I heard that a lot. There's been a lot of people since the pandemic that just got into Experiment Terror. And I think it's maybe because people have time or they want more of an escape, because it's a long series. So like, you kind of have to be committed. But yeah, I've noticed definitely an uptick in that series. And also it helps to kind of that I brought it back. So people are more inclined to like, oh, what is this new thing? Oh, that keeps going. Kind of got new blood in it. So yeah, thank you so much. I'm happy I brought that series back too. And my 11th book is coming up on May 13th. And that's actually the 10-year anniversary of when I first published Dark House, and in general, my first book I published was that day in 2011. So like I decided to release the 11th book on that day just to make it extra special.
Wow, 10 years.
Wow.
Congratulations.
That's when I think about it, I'm just like, how did that happen? I mean, my career's done crazy things since then. I never even imagined that it would be like this. So like, yeah, it's special. And like, I mean, although like, it took, I think I wrote the book. Well, I know I wrote the book in October 2009. So it took a while for that book. There was many drafts of that. And like, it took a while for that book to finally get published. And I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to self-publish it. It's the new thing to do. I'm just going to go for it. And yeah. Mm-hmm. So I even have a tattoo. I can't show you because it's behind my ear of the number 13, because it was a Friday the 13th that I released it on. So I got a 13 there on that day. So I guess that tattoo is like 10 years old. That's fun.
Yeah. Dark House was one of the first romances I read getting back into books in 2017. And to this day, I still recommend that book to people. It's an excellent book. Yeah.
That means a lot. I mean, I've been, it was my first book. So that is a book that I do not read again if I can help it. But I have had to, because I wrote the pilot for that as well. So that is also a TV series, maybe. I mean, it's a long process, but I have producers attached and it's been optioned. And right now I'm working on the second, like literally right now I'm working on the second episode, because things are always changing in the industry. So now they're kind of wanting not just a pilot when you go out with it, but a pilot, maybe the first episode. Like one of my producers did Ozark, and Ozark had to have 2 episodes to get picked up. So I'm actually rereading Dark House like as we speak. I'm looking at it and trying to. So it's different. It's hard because I love that people love it, but when I read it, I'm just like cringe like the whole entire time, and I wish I could fix it. And I've tried many times to be like, I'll just go in and rewrite it, and I get in a few pages of no, just leave it, just leave it in the way. But it's fun because in the script I am rewriting it, so like there are some differences already, like with character, like not big differences, but there is like I'm able to like kind of like put my expertise in it more, and so it is a little bit more sophisticated than that one. But that's another thing you gotta cross your fingers and hope it works out, because it is something that would be amazing if it happens, but we'll see. I mean, it's such a long process when books get turned into things, and because I'm doing it myself, that helps, because a lot of time when people get movie deals or TV deals, they get a deal and then someone has to come and write the script and adapt it. But when I'm the one who's doing it, then I get to be producer, which is pretty cool.
That's nice.
But
it's amazing.
And Apple, we had it out at Apple and they had said no in September, and we're like, all right, fine, moving on. No one else has said shit yet, because they're all filed under scripts. Actually, that's not true. Amazon said can you send it to us again? Like, all right. And then they said, can you also send one of the books you think is the best kind of like example of what it would be on TV? So I sent them Lying Season, which is one of the more angstier books. So it actually like encapsulates like what the show's about, what, you know, the sexiness of it and the scares of it. So I was like, okay, this book, I'll give it to you, you know, hopefully. So I don't know what they're doing with it. They said it'll be forever until I hear back. Apple, apparently we're going back to Apple again. So I didn't know that could happen. I just learned that earlier in the week. And they're like, oh no, we're going back to Apple. I was like, well, that's promising, right? Because Apple had originally said, we liked it, but we have something similar. So we're like, all right. And now they're like, no, we want to see it again. So I was like, all right. But who knows? I'm just
what could Apple possibly have that's similar to that?
Just go to Netflix.
Well,
I feel like
Right.
Netflix. I was like, Netflix will gladly take.
it is on Netflix. I don't know. They're one of like, it's basically everywhere right now. So I have no idea what's happening. Like, you are kind of left in the dark. So the producer has to send me like, okay, this is where, well, I have a manager now for screenwriting, which is really helpful because now she's in on the calls and she's the one who's like, okay, this is where we've submitted. This is who would need to go back. And she's also based in London, my manager. So she's able to go to like, okay, we're going to take it to Amazon UK and see if we can do something there. So like, there's lots of stuff happening. It's just such a long thing that but it's fingers crossed and you never know. And I mean, it's funny because last year when it got picked up already by the producers, another producer emailed me like 2 weeks later and was like, my makeup artist here in LA was talking about it and I'm interested in the rights. And I'm like, well, you're too late. But he was like a little budget, but still it was exciting. So I'm like, okay, there's something in the air, there's something happening. So hopefully what else will go.
I hope something happens because on Amazon, it has like that little thing that says that it'll be turned into a show. And I've just been waiting and waiting.
Oh, that'd be so good. And like, especially, and you're like, come on, Amazon. It's on Amazon. Just take it. You know you want to take it. It's going to benefit you in the long run because you're Amazon and the books are on Amazon. So but you know, so that's, you never know. I mean, they did ask, you know, to see it again. So like, at least I'm like, okay, well, they're not like, no. But I'm also like, I also really want Sins and Needles to do that too. So I'm just like, both, take both.
That'll make my job easier. Just take them all.
Just take both. Make a whole connected shared universe of all your
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That would be amazing.
That would be nuts. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's cool. It's a really interesting part of the literary thing when it starts to mix with the film thing. But like, as you know, I mean, everything is so slow and you can never talk about things. I have another book that is being turned into a movie for sure. I mean, they're going to start filming soon and I still haven't talked about it because I'm waiting for they said I can say something, but like, I'm waiting for like the announcement in like Deadline. So I can be like, look,
I mean, we could do
we can break the news.
Yeah, like looked at it like it rhymes with.
We just pull up all the title.
I'll give you a hint: is that not many people have read it.
Oh,
a contemporary.
I know what genre.
It's a rom-com.
Oh.
I almost feel like going through Amazon.
A newer.
It's older.
Never played that.
Lacey said.
Oh, it's a new. Is it one?
Is it Love
Italian Summer?
What? No, I'm not gonna say anything.
I love that one.
Yes, me too.
But it's a new release.
Isn't it? Did you write what? Love Wrecked?
Oh, Love Wrecked.
Is that one?
Okay.
No, but I'm sure at some point I'll be able to say, but I'll say what it's for. I'll say who took it. They're the perfect people to do it. Because once I actually say where it's going to be, it's not going to be in the theaters. It's going to be on TV. So it's going to be probably Netflix.
Amazing.
But the company that is doing it's right up their alley. And the people who watch the movies that the company makes would probably be like, yes, we love movies like this or books like this or whatever. So, I should say the name of the company, right? That Hallmark. has it.
Oh.
Filming in British Columbia pretty soon. So that's exciting because I want to go to the set. And
Yeah, I was going to ask if you would be able to go on set.
yeah, I think so. I mean, COVID where I am is not where I am specifically, but like in the province is like super bad. So, but the film industry has their own way. They're very tight at like making it like they get tested every day. They're very, very good with that. So like probably I can. I mean, I don't know when they're going to start shooting. I think, you know, maybe in the summer or something like that. I just think it's super cool because you know, when I was younger in my 20s, I was an extra. And that's what I did for my job. So I was in the background of a lot of film in Vancouver and television shows and whatnot. And so I was on set all the time. I even wrote some of my books on set. Like that was my thing. And I was in Twilight, which is fun. I was at the wedding. I was a vampire.
I was like, that's really her. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm there. If you look for me, I'm just like, and then I'm like.
Wait, Jess, weren't you an extra too in...
I was in a Nicholas Sparks movie. Yeah,
Oh,
The Longest Ride.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Longest Ride, that's cool.
Mhm.
Where?
Was that the one with Scott Eastwood?
Yeah, I got to see Scott Eastwood. He was
Yes.
like,
I remember laughing at the
Where were
photo
you
you
at?
showed me.
it was in the opening scene where it's not like it's after he's hurt, but like his first rodeo back, and I was in the stands.
I'm totally gonna go see
Cool.
Yeah,
that.
you know, I need to watch
and
it.
find that.
A little bit. If you freeze the screen, you can see me.
Yeah. No, it's so much fun doing those. And like, so like when I was in Vancouver, like that was my thing. So like, so the fact that like I'll be now on, you know, the set, and there'll be background actors, but it's for something that like was my book. That's super cool. And it'll be like people like that I know, because the industry is so small in Vancouver. So that's super exciting. So like once I can actually talk about it, I mean, I guess I've been talking about it, but once I can really talk about it, then I'm going to be really excited. And I'm excited to see casting and see who they're going to do for the characters and stuff. So, and you know, if they film it where they should film it, that would be super exciting too.
I'm excited they're doing more rom-coms, like the Hating Game's getting done, your book's getting done. Like
I think Ryan was announced today.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
What?
Yeah,
Ryan.
Yeah, she got optioned.
See,
For
I
like
mean,
series.
I don't watch a lot of TV, so now I have to watch TV because I've read all these books. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's incentive. And I mean, of course, Bridgerton, you know, and, you know, people have seen the success of that. So like showing that like, hey, romance, you know, does belong on television.
Right,
So,
more so.
yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, there's a huge audience for it. So, I mean, yes, it helps with Bridgerton. That was like a very big series, and it was Shondaland. So like, obviously like anything that she does is going to be amazing. But you know, that kind of broke ground a little bit. And like Netflix has been doing so many like rom-coms recently as well. And like, you know, and YA stuff like To All the Boys I Loved Before and Kissing Booth and all that kind of stuff. So I really think like there's kind of like a renaissance of romance, and like Virgin River and Sweet Magnolias. There's stuff that like is maybe not romance per se, but like, you know, that people love that aspect of the show. So
well, now I'm going to stalk you on Instagram because now I need to know. Like,
Yeah, now we need to figure out.
I've been doing this for so long. We've literally like. They were interested in it last March. So, and then I finally signed the contract in like December. And so, you know, it's been a long time, but I mean, yeah, I could say something, but I'm just waiting for the announcement because it's special.
Yeah.
Bright Midnight. Okay, so Bright Midnight. I have a book coming out on June 1st. It's called Bright Midnight. Now, this book used to belong to a publisher, to Atria, who published Where Sea Meets Sky and Racing the Sun. Now, Bright Midnight was going to be the third book in that series of standalones. It was set in Norway, and it featured a character who was racing the sun. And it took me a while to write the book. I kind of struggled with it. I kind of stopped. It was so many deadlines I had at the time. This is a long time ago. So this is like 2015 or 2016. Like, it was a long time ago. And eventually, the Atria kind of fizzled out. And then I basically got my rights back. And so I was like, can I actually publish this now? Like, self-publish it? And so, because the book was more or less all written. So that's what I'm doing. I'm self-publishing that book. And I know people have been waiting for it for like a long time. but yeah, it's coming. It's got an awesome cover. I think it's a contemporary romance, so it's a second chance romance set in Norway with sexy Viking fisherman bad boy like that broke her heart in high school, and she never really quite got over him, and then it's all that kind of good stuff. So I'm really excited because people have been waiting, but also it's a standalone, so if you've never read those other books, it doesn't matter, you'll totally get it. And yeah, it's just been it's funny because Guns N' Roses had a album for the longest time they were going to do called Chinese Democracy, and maybe they did do it. Did they do it in the end? I think my husband brings it up all the time because he was a big Guns N' Roses fan. So like he'd always like Chinese Democracy do this, like they're going to come back together and they're going to do this album and it's going to be big. And they talked about it for, I don't know, 10, 15 years or something. I have no idea. I might just be totally wrong about this. So that's what he says that this book is for me, because every year I'm like, well, maybe I'll get the rights back to it. Maybe then I'll publish it. But I've been saying this for 6 years. So he's still like, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm like, no, I put a pre-order on. I have to do it now.
You said June 1st?
Yeah.
So
I've got a super busy schedule. I'm releasing Ada's third book this month at some point, but I'm just going to throw it up I'm not doing arcs or anything. I'm just like throwing it up with the cover like here it is. And I'm just going to do it like that. And then I've got the EIT on 2 weeks later, basically. So but those books kind of lead into each other. So that kind of makes sense. And then on June 1st, I got Bright Midnight, which I realized is 2 weeks later. And then I have The Blood is Love on July 1st. And then I have Night Wolf on October 31st. And that's because
wow,
girl, you were busy.
Bright is on August 31st, so I can't publish between 2 months of that book because that is taking away from that book. So that's why everything's kind of like happening all at once now, because I'm just trying to get it all done before then. And then October 31st is the first time I can publish after that. So that's why I got Night Wolf there, and then we'll see. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot coming, but some of it's already written, so it's not like, don't worry about me, I'm fine. Everyone's like,
when do you sleep?
I sleep from 11 to 7 every day at night. So I get 8 hours of sleep, so I'm good. But, I don't have kids, and my husband takes care of me, and he cooks, and he cleans, and he does everything. So this is just, I have all day to do this. So I'm pretty lucky.
That's amazing. You trained him so well.
Yeah. That sounds like the setup. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's awesome. Like I would starve if he wasn't here giving me food and stuff. I would not be here. So I mean, I owe everything to him, and it's basically how people are like, how do you get it done? It's like, that's why I don't have kids, and he does everything. And so I can literally spend 12 hours a day writing. And a lot of the times I do. So
I love that.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Write a book about just him.
Yeah, I know. We met in a really interesting circumstance too. And my agent has said many times, like, just write a book about that. And I'm like, no, everyone's going to hate the heroine. They're going to do it. But no, he's a good egg.
Oh, that's cute.
Which one of my characters do I have the most common with? I don't know. They all have a bit of me, but no one is exactly like me. I mean, I don't know. To be honest, like they all do. I mean, Perry, is very insecure, and I wrote her when I was very insecure. So like that was a different time in my life. I was with a different person, and didn't know what I was doing with my life. So everything that Perry was going through in EIT, or at least the earlier ones, that's what I went through. So that at that time in my life, I was very much Perry. But now, I don't know. I don't think I'm much like her anymore. Like she's changed though. So like when I had the ability to come back and write her so many years later, I mean, I changed too. So it kind of worked out. So I think I still am a little bit like her, but maybe not exactly the same. Interestingly enough, it's the male characters I'm the most like. So, and I don't want to say I'm like Javier because I'm not, but he is for me the easiest character to write. So I don't know what that says about me, but he is. Javier Dex, I'm not. Well, I guess I am a little bit more like him. Magnus, I don't know if you read the Wild Air Magnus. It's funny because these are characters that have ADHD, and so do I. So that maybe that's why I relate to them so well. But they do tend to be men. You know, yeah, I don't know. I think all of them kind of have a part of me, but there are a few of the male characters that maybe I relate to a little bit more. And I don't know why Javier is always the easiest one to write, but I don't know what that says about me.
I did get a question on Instagram. They asked, is the veil in Black Sunshine the same as the EIT series?
Yes. In fact, if you look at, what book is it? On Demon Wings, at the very end, Perry goes into the veil with Pippa, and Pippa calls it the Black Sunshine. So that was a book that I wrote in 2012 or 2012. So that term has been on my mind for a very long time.
Will there be like a crossover where you
possible crossover?
Yeah.
I don't know. That would be really hard to do because that would be hard. I mean, that might be a fun like novella to do one day or something like that. But that I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know how I would do that. Like I wouldn't want to, like, were they going to end up being friends? Like, I don't understand. Like, I like them both, so I don't want them to like have a skirmish, you know, like that.
They're both going after the same weapon, and they're like, we're like, well, we need.
I'm like, well, I don't know. I heard all of you, but yeah, no, not a crossover per se. But if I do write more of anything that involves like Atlas, because he's a crossover from Came Back Haunted. The last EIT book, he was in that book. So like, he'll be around somewhere, showing up probably in EIT again, or if I do a spin-off of that involving witches, which I don't know yet.
I have a quick question. Will we run into Dracula by any chance in any of the other two books?
Oh my God. I thought about that when I was like, I'm not going to say no. It's possible. It's possible because like that would be so much fun. And I did look him up to be like, this is public domain, right? Like I can write Dracula here, right? And I can. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I might do that. So I'm not sure if it would be in Nightwolf, if it would be in The Blood is Love, but I do want to see Dracula. I think that'd be awesome.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
Will there be an audiobook for Black Sunshine?
Yes.
I was about to ask that question.
You haven't already.
Yeah, I just got an audio deal last week, I think, for it. So I'm super excited about that. That's going to be really fun to listen to.
Do you pick the people or just the audio people?
They pick them and then I choose between them. So, and if they don't work out, then they go back to the drawing board. Like if for example, this horrible experience with My Life in Shambles. So the original narrator, I mean, everything worked out better in the end, so don't worry about that. But originally, the narrator, I wasn't totally in love with him, but like, I was like, okay, it's fine. And he's Irish, so that's all that matters. And Padraig is the guy's character. Now, I'm probably butchering this now, but there are two ways to say his name in Irish, and one is Pórig, depending where you're from, and one is Padraig. So it's not Padraig, it's like Padraig or Pórig. And the guy was like, well, I say Pórig, so I've been saying Pórig this whole time. Like, but that's not his name. Like, I chose the other one. I actually spelled it out in the book with the pronunciation to use. And the guy was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, go back and read. Like, this is through I didn't talk to him directly, but like through the producers. And they're like, well, then you have to go back and re-record everything. And I'm like, well, then he should have checked with that before.
The incorrect name this whole time.
Yeah. And then he was like, started being like, well, no, that's not how I say it. And so I'm not going to go back and do it. And I was like, well, then you're gone, man. Like, and so we found another guy who did it right and was even better. Like, so
we got fired.
So,
because I was like, I'm sorry, this is my book. Like,
right.
Pronunciation. Yeah. You're saying you won't go back and do it because you know better than me. It's like, maybe that's how you pronounce it, but like there was two, and I've checked it with an Irish friend of mine, so like both were correct. And But anyway, so like, yeah, I do have a say if something's working out. But most of the time, if I work with them before, like if they've done things, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like Jo Raylan, she's awesome. And she did all the EIT books from 3. I just got another deal. So now there's 3 more EIT books coming. And so she's doing those, I believe. And she's doing Ada's books too. So that's good. So once you find someone, you just kind of stick with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Why break what is it, the road, or what does that say? Why mess
Why
with
burn
something?
up a bridge?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Why
mean,
not mess?
To be honest, there are some of them that I'm like, just because you listen to the sample doesn't mean the audiobook's going to turn out the way you wanted it to. So there's quite a few, or at least there's 1 or 2 that I'm just like, oh, I do not like this guy's accent. I don't like what he did, his job with his book. But what can you do at that point? You're just like, yeah.
You know, good person to ask is Charles, because he listens to about 1,000 books.
Right.
And he knows every audiobook person on the planet. I'm not joking. Like,
yeah. Well, and if you've listened to some, I'm sure you've come across some that you're like, ooh, you know.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like, and some people are particular with what their preferences are. But when you come across something that's really well done, like I have to say, one of the best audiobooks I have is the Dumont series. So Discretion. And because those French accents are like,
I mean,
they're a little bit like sometimes, but like they're pretty like, okay, I'm in this now. Talking to the French guy.
Yeah, I think those are on KU, and that's how I listen to them.
Yeah.
I
like that. And so you come across these great accents sometimes, but then like, for example, they asked for me for the Nordic King, or not Nordic King. Well, yeah, Nordic King and all those books, the Swedish Prince, they're like, should he do a Swedish accent? I'm like, no, because you sound like the Swedish cook. Like, you're not going to get this normal one.
Yeah, I listened to the Nordic King. That was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I just want to like go with the straight. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the same.
Right, there you go.
There it is.
Thank you. There it is.
Yeah. Oh boy. Coverage on Skinwalkers is very detailed. Did you research? I did. So when I wrote Red Fox, which is the second EIT book that has Skinwalkers in it, and I did granted, this is a long time ago, so I think I started writing that in like December 2009, and it literally took me all of 2010 to write that book. But I was also being a music journalist at the same time, so that was taking priority, and I hadn't published anything yet, so like I was just taking my time with the second book. And yeah, I did a lot of research to try and get that right and trying to do things in a very sensitive manner, even though back in 2010, you know, the level of wokeness was not exactly there, but I still was like, okay, no, I have to be very respectful. I have to get this right. You know, like, would I do it now again? Like, I don't know. Like, now I kind of feel like, well, maybe that's not really appropriate for me to do. But back in 2010, I did what I could. So yeah, no, I totally did all the research I could. That was
an awesome one, yeah.
Thank you. For something that, like, you know, isn't necessarily real, but it is real, you know, to a lot of people. So you really have to find, it's like a thin line that you have to be respectful about without not making fun of it. You know what I mean? So. My coffee's cold.
Oh no.
I'm Swedish and I've never heard a good Swedish accent in an audiobook.
You're
I
Swedish?
don't think I have either.
Cool. No, I can't imagine. I knew that they wouldn't be able to do it unless they got a Swede, but like they probably didn't have that. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure like if, you know, if you're high enough, you know, if you've got a Stephen King book that has someone who has a Swedish character, maybe they're going to find a Swedish audiobook actor to do it. But like for like a little romance book, no, it's just better to play it safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Carrie got 1K now.
Oh.
Yay!
Yay! Yes.
I'm gonna subscribe too, so then you'll have 1.1.
Yeah, you know, you're on Instagram and then someone unsubscribes and you're like, awesome, I was there, and then it's
you're on Instagram and you're like, yes, I finally got to like 35,000, and then it's all like, and then the next day you're like, what? What did I say?
Well, someone asked if the writing process was different with writing paranormal versus contemporary.
No.
Hmm.
No, I mean, like I said, like maybe there's more plotting in the paranormal because there's side plots going on. So maybe I'm a little bit more detailed in what happens in each chapter. But like, no, I still have to plot the whole thing. I have to know where I'm going. I can't pants it. I have tried, and then I just end up like just staring at the wall. Like I have to do outlines in many different ways. I have to have my notebook, and I literally have 60 notebooks filled with chapter by chapter or at least act by act, because I'll break it into act 1, act 2, act 3, like as I said, screenwriting thing. So yeah, and some books like have like 2 pages filled and that's it. So like I'm pretty sure there's a lot of those ones, and it just kind of like happens as I go, or right on my phone in the notes section and stuff like that. So but no, there's no difference for me writing the 2. It just depends on my mood. So if I feel like writing paranormal stuff and I have to write like a romance, then I might be a bit more cranky about it, but and vice versa. But it's nice to mix it up.
Who is your favorite dark / anti-hero, or your favorite heroine that you've ever written?
Oh, well, obviously Javier would be my favorite.
Of course.
I'm like needing to read that like right now. Like I'm gonna go after to go read that.
That's why I want to like, I announced this in my group, but what I'm going to do, and then now someone gave me the term for what I'm doing. So I don't read fan fiction and I don't write fan fiction. However, I will disclaim that by saying when I was 19, I did write X-Men fan fiction longhand in a bunch of notebooks. And I didn't know that I was doing fan fiction, but I did. So that exists. It's online. It just exists. I gave Wolverine a new love interest, and she's a new mutant and stuff, and she controls gravity, which I thought was cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that was super fun. But anyway, so someone brought out that I'm doing this. So it's been years since Sins and Needles and all that, because I'm writing the pilot for the TV series and the series Bible. The series is going to go in a different direction than the books. So basically the books go one way with someone and the series is going to go the other way. That could possibly loop back around to the way it originally was, but most likely for what's more interesting is Javier. So like, sorry, Camden. Sorry, man. But so what I'm going to do is reimagine, and I'm going to do this on Patreon. Patreon, or however you say it. I've never done that before, but I'm going to release it through the newsletter there over the summer. So that's going to be basically, I'm rewriting Sins and Needles will stand as it is. I'm rewriting Shooting Scars and Bold Tricks to be from Ellie's point of view and Javier's point of view in both of these books. And she chooses him instead of Camden. So I want to see what that alternate reality would be. So apparently that is called, what is it? AU or
alternate universe.
Alternate universe fiction.
Canon fanfic, but I'm doing it. So like, yeah.
Fan fiction of your own fiction.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. So that's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that.
I saw you announced it in your Facebook group.
Yeah.
And I'm just so curious. Like,
yeah.
Javier did some bad stuff. But
he did, but I also think the reason he did it is because he had no choice. Because like he did some bad stuff, but he wouldn't have done that bad stuff had what's his face not shown up and fucked everything up. So like I don't know, but it's going to be so much fun to like kind of play with it and see where that would have gone. You know?
Are you going to keep the novella as it is?
On every street?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No. So that's the same. So everything their past is the same. Sins and Needles is the same. The only place where it starts to differentiate is Camden just doesn't get to her. So like he just doesn't show up. Because if he didn't show up, a lot of other things wouldn't have happened. So like some things would have happened, but like and anyways, so like, you know, Javier, I mean, to be fair, he was spurned. So like, he's going to lash out and do things, you know, he was letting his guard down and he did. And then she basically, you know, tore his heart out again. So you can't really blame him for getting mad. I can't anyway.
I'm excited to read this now. Like the way this sounds, like Yeah.
And then that way you have both. So it's not messing up anyone's happily ever after, because that way both things exist. They're just different, it's like sliding doors. Like this one went this way and this one went the other way. So you can kind of pick which one you like. And I actually think most Camden fans would probably still love it because they're still intrigued by him anyways. So it's like, yeah, what would have happened if Camden didn't show up? And I'm not saying that he's dead, but maybe he is. I don't know yet. You know how I like to do that.
I don't think Camden fans would like that if you killed him.
No, they would not.
No, I know. That's just in that universe.
Virgin
Still alive in the other universe. How do I come up with character names? It's hard because every name's taken basically. It's funny, Dex. So I came up with Dex and Perry obviously in 2009. So how did I come up with Perry? No idea. Dex, though, I would like to say I just came up with then, but I wrote a script in 2007, and the main character's name was Dex. So I didn't realize that until like recently when I went back and looked at that script, and I was like, what? Oh, okay. So obviously that name has like some importance to me. So yeah, I don't know. Camden, like for example, Camden McQueen, I have a friend whose name is Ben McQueen. That is actually Camden's son's name. So I took McQueen, and Camden was just like someone I knew on Facebook, and their son's name was Camden. So I did that. For a lot of them though, I just, you're just kind of Googling names that are not that common. Like after a while, you kind of just, you have to not use the same name. And I've done that before for side characters. I'm like, there's a name that I've used like 5 times in like 5 different books. I'm like, what is with this name? It's not even a normal name. It's like Marda. And I swear I've used it so many times. I'm like, why? Who is this person? Did I know Marda? Like, I don't know. So yeah, I think most authors do the same as me, and you're just kind of Googling, trying to find, it's either that or it's based on someone you know. Like for example, my book Smut, that romantic comedy. The 2 characters, Blake Snyder. Is it Snyder? Anyways, that's my husband's good friend, and he was very overjoyed at that. And Amanda Newland? Is it Newland or Sanderson? Anyways, I have my friend Amanda Newland, who then became Amanda Sanderson. She's the main character. So I was like, hi, I'm taking your name. Are you okay with that? She's like, all right. I'm like, the book's called Smut. So yeah, that's basically how I do character names. A lot of and then like one of like my friend, my husband's friends, his name is Phil Hadzokas. And I don't know why that name stuck with me. I've used that name a million times just now as a joke. And every time, like, my husband will tell him, he, like, goes to get the book and looks at it. So, sorry, Phil. You just have a fun name.
See, I think a lot of authors do that. Like, they go around and they, like, run into a grocery store clerk, and it has, like, the most interesting name on their tag, and then they, like, write it down and use it for a book.
Yeah, and that's how you have to get it, because otherwise you're like, I mean, like I've written like 3 books now set in Norway. One is actually the sequel or the spinoff to Royals Next Door. It's called The Royals Upstairs, and that's set in Norway. That actually ties into The Wild Air because it's Magnus again. So that's actually, those 2 books are tied. That and then Bright Midnight. So that's 3 Norwegian, and I'm part Norwegian. So like all my family's in Norway. I have used every single one of my family's names at this point in these books. So I'm just like, the only one I won't use, or I used it once, is my dad, which is Sven, which is like the most Norwegian name ever. But I can't because it's my dad. So I had to use him for like a month or something.
So that's like a hard no name. Someone else.
For me.
Hard no names, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it. I can't. No,
His
can't
name is
Sven.
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 Isn't
Like
that
making-
someone in Frozen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
guessing
that's
he's like
for
the Joe of Norway. That's what that sounds like. Joe
Yeah,
or Bob.
it's super common. Yeah. So yes, Sven. I've never used a name with my husband. My husband's name is Scott. I haven't used any character's name Scott. I don't think I would. I think that would be too weird.
So kind of related question, but someone asked if you'll be writing more books in the Nordic Royal series.
Yeah, it's kind of okay. So no, but the sequel or the spin-off of The Royals Next Door. So The Royals Next Door is about, it has a bodyguard that, so there's 2 bodyguards in that. So one of the bodyguard ends up in the Royals upstairs, which is a book is still I'm in the process of writing with the publisher. So, and in that one, and there's going to be a snippet of that book at the end of The Royals Next Door. But in that one, it's the same world. So he goes on to be the bodyguard for the Norwegian royal family, to be more specific, Prince Magnus, who was in the Wild Heir, and his crazy family. So like, and it's a second chance romance, because enemies to lovers kind of thing, because he ends up there. And the new nanny for them is a nanny he had at another royal place that things went horribly wrong. So like now they're isolated in this Norwegian estate, and it's a comedy. It's fun. But yeah, so that's kind of a tie-in. But also, like, I've run out of Nordic Royals. Like,
we used them all up.
So many. So, yeah. But never say never. I mean, maybe one day I'll be like, Belgium. Now it's not Nordic, but whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
Stationery fan. I love stationery. Just notebooks for me, it's very important, the process to go and like pick one out and use it for the book. So I can't get started on the book until I have it. It doesn't have to be like a specific one, but I now have like a surplus of like 10, just because like pandemic, right? It's not like I can just jet off to like go get a notebook every time I want. So
Right.
now I have a bunch, so I'm ready. But that's about all the stationery that I like. It's just a good pencil and notebooks, and that's about it.
So when you get an idea for like a story, do you just open up a new notebook and then start it kind of like in a fresh?
Yeah. I'm trying to see. I've got nothing but examples here. But, well, for example, I was going to plot Ada's 3rd book here. As you can see, it has the title Demon Dust. However, this is not lined. This is going to bug me. This is not a lined notebook. So now I'm actually not going to use it. So now I have to go get another notebook so yeah, I'm particular about weird stuff.
Right. No, if the system works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't.
Don't
There you go. There we go.
You know, Lacey knows I am terrible with remembering stuff. So she's my girl. Like, I'm like, yeah, I will not remember that in 2 minutes from now.
Oh, does Lacey just have a bunch of forgetful friends? Because same. I'll just be like, yeah, I don't remember this thing. Lacey, remind me.
Yeah, well, I am also the same. I need people to remind me of things. For example, my parents were catching a flight, and they were like, can you call us an Uber? Because they don't know how, they're old and technology, and I was just like, yeah, I'll call you an Uber. I'm like, yeah, can you get it for 4:30? And I couldn't figure out how to schedule it, and it was something wrong with my location or whatever, because they're not here, they're somewhere else. So I was like trying to get a pickup for them. I'm like, yeah, do it. And then this was like literally the other day, and then like at 4, they're like, okay, so do it 4:30. I'm like, I will. And then at like 4:45, I get a text from my dad, and then a call being like, where's the Uber? And I'm like, oh.
He'll be there in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Uber desperately. I'm like, oh my God. Why did you ask me? You know how I am. Is there any story I've been reluctant to write or waiting to write as the story develops for you? Am I hoarding anything? I'm hoarding stories. I was hoarding the vampire thing for a long time. So Black Sunshine I hoarded for quite a while, I feel like.
Right.
Oh no, there's some I've hoarded. It just all depends if I can get it traditionally published or not. So there's a lot of books that wouldn't do necessarily well self-published. So I would rather do it traditionally. So I am writing a YA. Oh yeah, there is one that I'm hoarding.
A YA. I'm
just trying to find the time, but it's a science fiction. It's science fiction. It's like not in space or anything. So it's like it was like a techno thriller, like science fiction, something very grounded in reality. So there's that, and I can't wait to do it, but like I just can't find the time. And then there is a romantic comedy about a witch called Hollywood Witch, and I can't wait to write that. It's going to be so much fun, but I don't know if we're going to. I think I have to wait until after, and then to submit it to my publishers, and then see if they want it, and it has to go on submission. So like I'm just kind of waiting. So there's a few like traditionally published rom-com ideas that I have that I might also like decide to just, if it doesn't work out, then just self-publish it. So
right.
Yeah. I probably am hoarding a lot. It's just somewhere else in my brain. I'm not aware.
When they traditionally publish, like, isn't it to where like it's certain things are popular at the time, so they're like, you need to be more like this type of book, and then if it's not popular, they're like, well, we won't accept that.
Yeah, they can do that. There's also like the problem with traditional publishing is like you try and give people what they want, meaning that the publishers, but it takes so long to publish that you just don't know what the next trend is. So like self-publishing, you can jump on it right away. And that's another thing. Someone asked me like, well, why didn't you traditionally publish Black Sunshine? You would have found maybe more, like this is before I published it, a better audience or more audience or whatever. And I'm like, no, because just because something's traditionally published doesn't mean it's going to do well. I don't want to wait 2 years for this book to come out. And I have a feeling that they would have made me change a lot of things in that book that I wouldn't have wanted to change. So I feel like had I gone to a traditional publisher, that would have been a disservice to the story and to the story I wanted to tell. So like, yeah, and then also like, are vampires coming back? I don't know. Like they might not think so, but maybe they are right now, but I'm going to jump on the trend now because I'm here and I can just self-publish, which is like, are people going to want vampire books in like 2 to 3 years? Maybe not. Like, you know what I mean? So they're definitely slow, and it's kind of like a crapshoot. You don't know. Ironically, when I came up with the witch idea, I saw a lot of my author friends who are traditionally published. And I didn't know this, but I saw them announcing their deals for their witch books. I'm like rom-coms, and I was like, what? Are we on the same plane of existence or something? Like we're all like totally connected with each other, like the zeitgeist thing. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, with traditional publishing, they'll be the first to tell you, no, that wouldn't go, that doesn't sell anymore. But they're not always right. So it just depends.
Yeah, 100% on they're not always right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why it's so important to just write the story that you want to do and not try and make it towards any kind of trend.
Right.
I have one last question from Instagram. Will you be offering any signed copies of your books?
No, because I'm in Canada, so that makes everything so difficult. For one, like the number one thing is like I am not like ADHD here. Like literally, I do not have the capacity to do any kind of mailing thing. The most I can do for giveaways is mail my books to the publicist, and then she sends them out. Other than that, like I can't. I'm awful at giveaways. I'm awful at things because I owe things and I forget. And so like, there's no one to keep me in line. And it would just be insanely expensive. So like, I have to order from Amazon, and then they send it from the States to here because for whatever reason they won't print it in Canada. So then I pay duties and customs on top of that on my own books, and the shipping, and then I have to send from here out, which is also expensive. So like people are going to pay, like it's going to be really expensive to send paperbacks. And like I do have my friend Kathleen. I mean, she does it all the time, but she's superwoman and she's organized. So she's able to make it work. But like for me with the cost, plus the fact that like I am not organized, I just can't do signed books. So I'd like to make it work in the future. Like in the future, we might actually be living in Los Angeles. So for half the year. So when I'm in LA, like that might actually be something I could do because I could get an assistant because like where I live here, that's reliable people do not exist. I live on Hippie Island. You cannot rely on people. So,
no one to take breaks. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. So when I'm in LA, I might have an assistant to do that. And also, I've got like media mail and I could do it really cheap and efficient for everybody. So that might be, so maybe you're right. Because this moving to LA thing is something that we just decided in this last couple weeks. So that's a new thing for me, but my parents have a house in Palm Springs. So like when I've gone there before and I've done that, I have done mailings in my group privately. So it's happened and I got my mom to mail them. I felt so bad. Yeah, I have pictures of her just surrounded by all these books. And I was like, I gotta go back home. Bye. Can you mail those for me? Thanks.
She's looking around like, what?
Yeah.
What did I sign up for?
Oh, she even signed one because she's Finnish. So like one of my readers is from Finland, and my mom wrote like a special note in the book for her in Finnish. So that was nice.
Aww.
Yeah,
that's cute.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to California. We're here. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love LA, and we go there every year. You know, last year we were there for 3 months, like January, and then we cut our trip short by like 2 weeks, or no, like maybe a week, because literally the pandemic and the border closed. So like we drove from LA to here. So I'm on this tiny island off the coast of British Columbia. We drove from LA to here in a day, basically like one night. And we've never done that before. That was nuts to wake up in LA, burn it all the way to like, where do we stay? Reading, and then like Reading all the way home. And to be home like right before the border closed, we're like, oh boy.
Wow.
So we're very excited to go back. Whenever the borders open, I have no idea when that is.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Well, those are all the questions that I have. Do you guys have any more?
Now that I know that the Experiments in Terror thing is like in the works for TV, I'm satisfied.
Well, keep crossing your fingers. We'll see. I mean, I'm trying not to think about it, because I've literally been like, since it went on submission in September, like it's been a long time of every day being like, maybe today I'll get a nice phone call. Maybe today we'll get some good news. I've been like that since September, and it's awful.
And also, when should people be like scouting your Instagram for that special announcement? Is there like a time frame we should be looking for?
Well, Hallmark gave them permission to announce, but they are not doing anything in themselves. So they're my producers are trying to get it in like deadline or something. So I think I'm just waiting. So in the next couple of weeks, maybe, I don't know.
Cool.
But I'll make a fuss about it everywhere.
We will too.
Well, thank you, Karina, for joining us tonight. I'll link everyone down below. I think I've linked Black Sunshine down below too. You can get it on KU. And yeah.
Thank you so much. This was actually a lot of fun, and I survived. So that's important. What did you?
It was fun.
Yeah. It was fun.
Okay, well, that's it then, I guess.
Ending is always awkward.
I know. It's like,
Yeah.
Awkward outro.
I'm sorry. I mean, everything is linked in the description. If you need anything, it's there.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Jessica, really fast.